And joining us now is Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen from Nevada, a member of the Senate Armed Services and Homeland Security Committees. Senator, thanks for taking the time. I know you have seen this unredacted version of the affidavit. What's your reaction to it?
Well, I can tell you that Pete Hegseth is probably one of the most uniquely unqualified nominees we have ever seen come before us for the Department of Defense. I can tell you that I have seen the unredacted version. I have seen all of the data that was available to us on the Armed Services Committee, and it is disturbing. It is a disturbing trend towards abuse of women. Even his own mother talks about his mistreatment of women. There's a lot more than just physical abuse that goes into abuse. I can tell you, anyone who tells their friends or their relatives that they need to hide in a closet and have a safe word to get out, that's showing a pattern of something that probably isn't so good, so nice, or so normal. And the person who leads the Department of Defense, I just want to remind everyone what this job is. It is this job that this person has to keep all of America safe. Every single one of us, you, me, everyone listening, and everyone here. How do they do that? They take care of our men and women and their families in uniform deployed around the world, the 3+ million people who work at the Department of Defense. They stand up and they work with our allies and partners, and they need to be respected by not only America, but by our adversaries. And if you think that Vladimir Putin or anyone else isn't watching this circus of Pete Hegseth and laughing about how we're putting up someone so uniquely unqualified by their disposition and their experience, you have another thing coming. I'm sure they're just waiting for their opening to come after us.
So you heard Senator Joni Ernst just a moment ago. She appears unmoved by these new allegations. Others, like Senator Susan Collins, have voiced more hesitation about Hegseth's nomination. What do you make of what you're hearing from your Republican colleagues?
Well, I think they all have to look in the mirror and think about what's important. Think about our job. We give the American people, this is a person's job interview. This is their resume. And the resume for this job is to keep all of America safe, and our men and women who are deployed, keep them safe. And I can tell you also, this goes into recruitment. Who's going to join the military if someone's not going to take care of you, worry about you? He's disparaged veterans and people getting veterans benefits. I can tell you that I've had contact after contact with veterans who are so grateful I talked to him about that, because it matters when you're serving that you know whatever sacrifice you or your family make, you're going to be taken care of when you come home. And so the American people deserve a serious, qualified person. There are folks out there that can do this job and be respected by our country and by our adversaries. Pete Hegseth is clearly not one of them.
At the end of the day, though, do you think Hegseth has enough votes to get confirmed?
Well, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. As you've reported, there are some Republicans who will do some of their own research, will go to the Armed Services Committee, read some of the reports that are available to all of us in a closed setting, and make the decision that is right for, I would say, not just them, but when they think about the military and when they think about the families back home and what we're protecting, they need to look in the mirror and think about what's right for the American people.
Let's pivot to the ongoing controversy surrounding President Trump's pardons for January 6 defendants. Here's what he told Fox News last night when he was pressed on why even the violent offenders got set free.
It would be very, very cumbersome to go and look. You know how many people we're talking about? 1,500 people. Almost all of them should not have been. This should not have happened. And the other thing is this: some of those people with the police, true, but they were very minor incidents. Okay, they were very minor incidents, and it was time.
Senator, you were there at the Capitol on January 6th. What's your reaction to that defense?
Well, first of all, it's shameful. Donald Trump has let violent criminals, hundreds of them, out of jail and out of prison and back on the streets. And he says because it's too cumbersome. Is it too cumbersome for those families who had to go to funerals because they lost their loved one because of what happened on January 6th? You tell that to Officer Sicknick's mother when she buried her son. when they buried their family member. Oh, it's just too cumbersome to worry about. You tell the other officers who were tased, who were injured, who bear the physical scars and the emotional scars. What he did was shameful and wrong. It's not backing the police officers. They're sending these violent criminals out across their country. You've been reporting that they have vowed retribution on people. And so what he did, what President Trump did, even the Fraternal Order of Police is not backing this up. He let loose cop killers. And I don't even have the words to say the shockwave that went through the Capitol Police here, all of whom who did everything they could. They do it again to protect the United States Capitol.
I mean, some of these who have been released, as you point out, were convicted, some even pleading guilty to harming police officers that day. The Oath Keepers founder then was just spotted on Capitol Hill yesterday. There's been talk from some of the GOP colleagues in the House of inviting pardoned rioters to the Hill for tours. Your response?
I say, shame on them. What are they thinking? They're going to invite violent insurrectionists here to our Capitol. It's an insult to the men and women who are part of our Capitol Police who protected this building. It's an insult to the men and women who come and work here every day trying to do the business of the Capitol. It's an insult to our democracy, and shame on them. They know better. This is all about Trump's revenge. Well, it's going to be revenge on innocent people who don't deserve it. And it is shameful what they're doing. And I can tell you that it has really struck a lot of fear and PTSD in the hearts of the folks who work here, who live with this trauma every single day, but nonetheless still show up to work.
Senator Jackie Rosen, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time.